Hey guys, this week we're going to be talking about the dangers of media. That's coming up next.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, welcome to the Mike Charleston Show. I am Mike Charleston, and today we've got a full table full, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. To my right, we have my lovely wife, Sarah.
Hello, everybody.
And she's in the chick chair. And in the loser chair, we have Chuck. Chuck Tate.
Hey guys.
That's what Larry called it last week. And we have Larry Grimm here. Larry's back, so...
Larry. Yeah, I'm back. I'm here permanently.
Yes, he's finally here.
I guess somewhat permanently.
So, well, he's literally here. He's staying with us for a while until he finds something else.
Yeah, we moved.
They moved.
House is sold and...
everything, so now he's rich.
Homeless. I got all the money, but no
place to go. All right. Well, today's show, this one's going to be an interesting show. We're going to be talking about the dangers of media and what kind of brought this subject on, guys. We kind of talked this right before, like, where did this come from? We just came back from the film festival, which Rebecca was a part of, and making her movie, and we're surrounded by a bunch of filmmakers. And I was talking to a guy who actually put on the film festival. He started it 10 years ago, and I wasn't actually talking to that guy, but I was talking to his assistant guy. And we got talking. He had a table out there, and we were talking about the dangers of medium. Now, obviously, media, not medium. That's a different subject. The dangers of media, and obviously, we're at a film festival, so we're all for some sort of involvement in media. We didn't go to a sorcery place.
No seances?
No seances, no. But so I thought it would be a good subject because there's a lot of our listeners out there that are homeschoolers and are trying to retreat from certain things, and they're not sure how the world is coming at us in waves, and all this media that comes at us, we don't know what to do sometimes. So that's why we're going to talk about it, and some of the dangers to look out for, and some of the things that we've done throughout the years to kind of protect ourselves, and just different things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Anything you want to say, guys? So by the way, we have 4 people on the show. We really haven't had 4 people on the show before.
Well, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, because we had couples.
But all together. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Couples.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes. So if you don't like it, go ahead and email us at talk at... what? Okay, maybe not.
I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
We'll see how it goes. But so hopefully we'll...
My contract got extended for a little bit
more.
It
did. His suspension is now over, so Larry is allowed to be back on the show. So why don't we go ahead and get into it while we're at it. So what do we have, babe? First and I can't say first and foremost. That's my thing, right? Number 1.
Well, so first is, what is media and what is its purpose?
So the main purpose of it is for mass communication, right? I mean, originally these things are to broadcast things to the masses.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. So okay, right. That's easy. I'm glad we got we got the
agreement
there.
We agree.
All right. So that is you can get a message out really quickly. Hence YouTube. I mean, check it out. I mean, anybody can get a message out real quick. Yeah. The radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, books, these types of media, why don't we go ahead and name them?
I think you did.
You got to go down the list.
The one thing that's not on here, it's really not media, is old grandma's passing gossip.
The old wives' tales.
I don't think that would count as
we
media.
didn't put like video games or apps or social media in the internet. Now the internet's a fairly new one. Social media is even newer than that.
Yeah. And
a lot. That's where when we first started raising our children, and you guys have kids, not our children, but right. The movement at the time, especially in the homeschool movement, was to just. People challenged us to get rid of TV.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right, you remember that?
Absolutely.
And I think we all did at some level.
Yeah, well, we did it on a practical standpoint because...
You were poor?
Right. Oh. And somebody gave us an old black and white TV that took like 20 minutes to warm up. So if you want to watch something, you had to start it 20 minutes ahead of time.
That's interesting.
So we just decided, what's the point? And we lived in an area that you couldn't, unless you paid for cable, you couldn't get any channels anyway.
I still live there.
Yeah,
Right. That's virtually.
so by default, we just didn't have it for years.
And
Yeah,
Chuck,
we were in pretty much the same way. We intended to not have it for a while, but we did have a TV.
Right.
Obviously, no cable, no reception.
right.
We didn't get any of the local channels or anything. We had nothing but a VCR at the time.
Right.
You know,
That's kind of
which
our thing. We didn't want a
Oh,
TV.
what?
a
VCR.
video
What is that
cassette
thing?
recorder.
So we did the same thing, except for the minute we got married. Well, actually, even before that, I didn't have anything in my house because I was poor. But we decided not to have any cable. Now, we did eventually get a screen to play, videos, like a VCR, that thing that people don't know what that is. What is that?
Well, we had one of those. We eventually got one
Combos?
of the 13-inch
Yeah. I
think
that's what we
TV.
had.
All homeschoolers had a combo.
Ours was just a 13-inch TV. In fact, we had that for years. Pam's brother came, and he stayed with us. He could not stand it. He actually bought us a flat screen. It was like whatever size that was we had.
Well, you had the 13-inch and flat screens were out.
Yeah, we did.
So you really did keep it for a long time.
Yes, they did. So anyway, nowadays it is the internet has come, and there are so many ways to access different things. So it's become so complicated, and a number of people will just say, "That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything." And I'm not going to criticize those people too much. I admire that effort, but realistically, we want to come up with answers because we live in America, and we live in a society that has all these forms of media, and we have to know how to navigate this. And if you just want to bury your head in the sand, that's fine. I know there's one of the guys that we really like to listen to. He's like almost 80. And he's like, I don't care about it. I don't even care about all that stuff, and so I don't worry about it. But yet you have a full generation. His grandkids, because I know they're on Facebook, are on these things, and they have to navigate that. And if we don't have answers, then we're just opening it up to anything. So that's kind of why we're doing this. Let's go ahead, give some answers. Let's talk about it. What is, what it isn't. And so let's get right into it. We gave the types of media. What about the purpose of media? You haven't talked, babe. Why don't you say something?
The purpose of media. Well, I mean, obviously, so we said what it was. The purpose of media is to inform people of news.
News? Yep.
So that's one thing that
Twitter,
it does,
right?
and it does well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we don't really turn on I hate news. The news I get on my phone now is people who have died, and celebrities have died, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know they're still alive. But anyway, so what's another purpose of the medium?
To convey messages.
Convey message. We kind of just talked about.
Right.
Now this was a tricky one because the message that is going out, as we know today, even the news media, we can't even trust the news, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, is it really true? We don't even know what's true. And now we have things like Twitter out there and online news sources, but they are out there to convey a message. Be aware that there is a message.
Right. Yeah, we've actually gotten to a point now, which we probably wouldn't have seen 10 years ago, where big tech actually controls the media in the public square. It actually controls what's happening in the news, pretty much.
Exactly.
It creates it.
And it's actually kind of interesting that even individuals can create news. Not create news, but they can actually report it. And so that becomes interesting when there's events going on, that who do we really trust? These people are on the spot with their phones nowadays.
Right.
And are we trusting CNN or Fox News or whomever? Another purpose of the media is to sell you something, a product, a service, or even an ideology. Now, that's the one that we focus on a good bit. Obviously, we know they're there to sell a product and service, commercials, just any kind, even an infomercial. They'll sell you something. But the ideology is what we want to watch out for, and that is very subtle.
Right. That's the thing. Even in look at some of the old shows. We were talking about this last night about the what was the show I mentioned?
Green Acres.
Green Acres. Yeah,
We're going right. We're skewing old. Sorry. You just lost everyone.
People, my age and Chuck's age, they'll
We
remember
know.
Green Acres. But that show, it was sort of innocent, but it also it portrayed the man as kind of a, what did you say, a buffoon?
Dope. Just a dope.
Yeah. And most of the TV shows, the sitcoms and stuff, throughout the 80s and 90s. That's
they
how,
followed that pattern.
Right.
Yeah. The dad or the father was always just the guy in the corner that nobody paid attention to.
The buffoon.
Right.
And
another purpose of the media is
It can create culture. So-
right. Now, we've talked about this before, and you want to check that one out. Go back to the episode, Creating a Godly Culture. That's a very important one. We've spent our whole life doing that. So if you got, that's
Right.
our whole point, is to create a godly culture. Well, guess what will attack that? The media.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not careful, they will slowly wear you down into what they think normal America life is like. And I don't want to participate necessarily in all of what normal America life is like, but they influence you to what we eat, to what we wear, to what we buy. I mean, what you were just talking about with Green Acres. You have a show that is fun.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't like it, but but even like things like Gilligan's Island, and they dress a certain way.
Yeah.
And Duke's a Hazzard. When we were introduced to Daisy Duke.
Yeah.
And like, woo, they push the envelope.
Yeah.
And then people start emulating.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, well, this is normal America, and it just slowly gets there to the point where I am on LSU's campus this week cleaning a sorority house. So I understand it's a sorority house. All the girls are totally immodest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is. But to them, it's probably normal. Well, it was normal because they're all like that.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's what I'm saying, that the media has slowly gotten to where we are today, pushing their agenda and pushing what they think is normal,
or what they want to be normal.
What they want to be normal. That's right.
Yeah, and that's important for parents because they're pushing it to your kids. If your kids have access to any form of media, which most kids do, they're being pushed into doing all of these things that you don't stand for. They don't match your values, but they're being pushed into it. So
another purpose of the media is entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are. The big part of where America is now. We are a very affluent country. We have a lot of time on our hand, and so a lot of the media is geared towards entertaining us at this point.
Well, and that's a relatively new thing in human history, is to have the leisure time to have entertainment.
Right.
Because you look throughout history.
Like the Romans?
Right. You live in an agrarian society and you don't have modern conveniences like plumbing, electricity. Just living was a lot of work.
Right.
So
you had to survive every day.
Right. Yeah. So now in our modern time, we have a lot of extra time that even my great grandparents didn't even have.
Right.
So this is a new thing. It's a new concept.
It's interesting you say that. We did a show on time.
Right.
Yeah. A while back. And we actually don't think we have that much time.
I know. Isn't that funny?
We all complain about the same thing, but people 100 years ago still had 24 hours.
Well, that's the thing. And we talk about time. If you look at some of the stats about how much time people spend on their phone or their devices, it's amazing.
It is.
Wow. And we used to, every week we get the things on our
Screen
smartphone.
report.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing sometimes.
It is. It's embarrassing. I'm like, wow, what did I do with my time?
I'd like to think that I just kept it playing and left it on somewhere. I'm like, oh, wow.
But yeah, and even these concepts of using the media to persuade us, it's a big change.
Yep.
We didn't have, like when I was a kid, we had 3 stations on the TV.
Right. ABC, NBC.
Yeah, and the news,
CBS.
like you said, we talk about the news. The news cycle now, it's constant.
Yeah, 24 hours.
And events happens, and it's just, you hear about it over and over and over again. When I was a kid, you had the news in the morning, and then the 6 o'clock news, and then was it 10:30, 11 o'clock news, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except for the newspaper, if you read that. But
Maybe PBS.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what PBS.
I know we have 4, basically 5 channels. It was the 3 main networks, then PBS, and then the UHF channel.
UHF channel. That's right. The kids are totally lost.
What is UHF?
So, part of the entertainment one is, this is where the warning is, and where we will focus a good bit on. It is still presenting a message. A lot of Christians like to zone out when it comes to entertainment because they're like, well, it's just for fun. It's just, it's not real. But however, there is still a message being presented. And the whole point of this is saying that media is powerful.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful, making movies, like my daughter's making movies. It's a powerful media because it grabs your attention visually, auditorially, I guess you could say, audio and visual, and we want to touch the soul, and it's moving.
Right.
That's why they call it a movie. That's not why they call it a movie, but it is a moving experience. TV, same thing. The music, we're not going to really talk about too much on music, but video games, all these forms of media are to grab our attention, and it is very powerful. If it wasn't powerful, they wouldn't do it. Right.
So this is my look when I go into a room with the TV on. I'm like, and then it's.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that's why when we go out on our date night, we try to find a restaurant with no screens. Not because we're trying to be better than everyone, because this guy right here gets distracted.
Yeah, really?
And there's a screen, and it doesn't matter what's on. It's like,
I know.
You don't even care about golf. I'm like, my eyes are turned toward it.
I do the same thing.
So it is a very powerful media. Is anything with a screen, you know? So anyway, that is media is very powerful. Did you want to say anything about that part there?
Well, you touched on it. The reason why it is so powerful because it does appeal to our emotions. And what is that? Proverbs 4:23.
Yeah, you forgot what Proverbs 4:23 was? You didn't write it down?
I didn't write it down.
You wrote down the reference.
It's on the next page.
Oh, is it? You already have
there
it.
we have
Okay.
that one. It says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life."
Right, and I think
guarding your heart.
I think I might be wrong on this. Somebody might correct me, but I think when the Bible talks about the heart, it's talking about more the soul, where our emotions are,
The seat of emotion.
the seat of emotions. And once you get locked on to an idea and you get emotionally attached, it's very difficult to change that or to persuade somebody. It doesn't. I don't know if you've talked to somebody that they disagree with you and you're trying to persuade them and you present all kinds of facts. They could be dead wrong, and sometimes wrong. Yeah, right. But because they're emotionally attached to it,
Doesn't mean
anything.
Doesn't matter.
They won't change their mind because their heart is involved. And
Absolutely.
And that's what the media, the dangers, why it's so powerful. It can be used as a great tool with some guidelines.
Absolutely. So that's why we want to.
Yeah.
That's why we want to guard our hearts, and that's why we put on that verse there. But why don't we go ahead to number 2? You were just touching on it, so we might as well just carry on. Go. What's number 2, babe?
What are the dangers of media?
Okay, so there's actual dangers. I know that might shock some people, but I think everyone knows there's some dangers out there. And so let's just go through some of the big dangers. The big issues when it comes to media, I think, is what? Time and content, right?
Yeah.
How many times you looked on a YouTube video, you think, I'm just going to look on this, and 5-minute video turns into 3 hours?
Right.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
I'm thinking hypothetically if you...
No, I've been there where I originally I get distracted, and the thing on the side does not help.
No, it doesn't.
Because I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting, But anyway, so time and content are the big dangers. Now, you're like, well, what do you mean by time and content?
I mean, time is easy. We had a whole episode on time.
Yeah. Yes.
And obviously, like you say, we
You
can
can waste
waste
it.
a whole bunch of time and accomplish nothing. So.
Yeah, the media today is built in such a way that it's actually trying to draw you into more time.
Yes.
I mean, the algorithms behind the social media try to keep putting things there that make you want to continue to watch or look at whatever it is you're looking at.
Yeah.
They understand the thought behind the way the human mind processes things, and they want to continue giving you the content that they think is going to keep you there.
Right.
Well, the other thing with content too, it reminded me like social media, especially like Facebook. You look on Facebook and it looks like everybody's life is great and wonderful, and your life is just miserable and terrible. But that's usually not always the case. Larry's
jumping ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's cool. We'll get there. But
I was going by content.
Yes. So we need to do more than just say no media,
right?
Because it's bad. That is the knee-jerk reaction, and sometimes there might be a season for that. If you're losing control, your family is, getting way off base, and sometimes it's good just to cut off everything.
Yeah, you got to pull back and say, look, we're
grounding everybody.
Yeah. Right.
And just kind of take it back and say, okay, we've let things go too far. So it is good to every once in a while maybe do that. But I think we're all in agreement here that may be a dangerous thing if you have kids that are in this world.
Yeah, because that we live here.
Right.
Okay, we live
Right.
in that. We have to live here. We have to be here. These things are around us. So, just to avoid them doesn't really accomplish what your goal is for your, especially for your kids. If you're raising
Right.
children in your home, my goal, I'm assuming I'm talking for all of us. My
Right.
goal is to get them to a point where they're able to stand on their own.
Right.
And they understand and make decisions based on the knowledge that they have from the scriptures.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that just by ignoring.
Because that's what we have to do as adults,
Right.
as fathers. That's what we're doing. So eventually they've got to do that too.
Right.
And they have to make those decisions. So Colossians 2:8. Actually, we're going to be covering this later because we're doing Bible study and Colossians 2.
Oh, that's right.
So anyway, what does Colossians 2:8 say?
It says, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ."
So the word spoil here. Now this is a King James version, and some people may not understand spoil because spoil is like the meat goes bad,
Right.
and so this is like things that'll ruin things. Well, not really.
No.
Spoil, like the spoils of war. That's what it's really referring to, where you go and you take away. You're taking
Yeah.
away from someone. So we have to be aware that lest any man spoil us with they're using philosophy and
Right.
vain deceit after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. And this is exactly what a lot of the media will do. A lot of the entertainment specifically
Yeah.
will try to sway us and try to turn us a certain way and to change our thinking. And it's not after Christ. And that is what we have to beware lest any man spoil us. So that is where we want to beware. And so we're talking about where are we at? Okay, the issues.
The dangers
The
of media.
dangers. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
the
right.
dangers. So we have that was just a preamble. So now we have point A, point A. So here's actual, dangers of the media. What do we got there, Chuck?
So the first one we're going to talk about is that people accept the things in the media too easily. They're basically meaning that they're willing because of the interface, because of what they're dealing with. They take it in and they ignore some of the cautions that should be there.
Yeah, it's new. It's cool. It's
Right.
fads. It's like, ooh, the new thing came out, so we just accept it. We don't even
Right.
think about what God would want. We just accept it. Now, we're all sitting here with smartphones and the internet, and so have we accepted it just later on, and the people early on were just smarter than us? No, not necessarily, because the early internet was not good.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
so many dangers that were scary, honestly. Like we were talking about the other day, long are the days of pop-ups.
Oh, yeah,
when we're afraid
Yeah.
of pop-ups.
Yeah.
But that was a real thing, that
It
things
was,
would
yeah.
just pop up, and we were worried about pornography just
Yeah.
popping up. Well, that doesn't really happen. They're a little smarter than that. If there's pop-ups, it's going to be directed at what you're searching.
Correct.
So if pornography pops up, you should question what you've been searching.
Yeah,
That's right.
So, but anyway, that's people accept it too early.
Well, and it's not just devices or iPhones or whatever, but it's like all the different apps on your phone, like
Oh, sure.
Signal
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Facebook or whatever. And it's just like everybody has it. And so I meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, I'll message you on whatever app." It's like, well, I don't have that app
Yeah,
right now.
that's-
But it's like, oh, so I have to get that one for this person. I have to get something else. And we just quickly just take it all. And it can be fine, but it's not always fine. We don't have to accept things just because that's what somebody
Right.
else is on.
Well, that's the new fads. We have the sense that we want to belong and be a part.
Right.
We don't want
Yeah.
to be that outcast. So
Yeah.
and the media knows that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what we really need is discernment.
That's a big word.
We don't teach discernment anymore. We don't grow up with it anymore. But it is a vital thing to know what's good and what's bad.
Right.
And that's basically what discernment is this of God or this of not of God? And media can be very complicated when we get into that, and we'll discuss it here.
You got to
in the
have
future.
convictions. You got to know what you're going to allow, and what you're not going to allow, and it's very easy for that to get blurred.
Yes.
Even for us who actively try to warn against it.
Yep.
We still may at times allow things that maybe we shouldn't be allowing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've all here at the table have made that choice at one point where we were like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have allowed that.
Yeah.
But that's part of growing. We're growing as long as we're honest with ourselves and honest with the kids and say, you know what, we maybe shouldn't have watched that. This is why. And we'll give some suggestions later on.
And I like that you said convictions, because convictions are something you believe based on the Word of God and what you find in the Bible.
Yeah.
So not just
out of fear.
Not out of fear,
right.
not because it's cool or that's what everybody's doing. It's like, I believe I should do this because of the Bible.
Because not everything that comes down the pike is good.
Right.
No.
So every form of media that we allow in our lives is going to shape us in some way. So once again, go back to that episode on influence. It's a very big thing. But what do you mean by that?
Well, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, that media is powerful.
Right.
And so when we see things and we hear things, those things are going to impact us, whether we want them to or not. We could say, well, we know that's not good, but those things are having effect on you.
Like music. Now, we're not going to talk about music so much because we're going to dedicate a whole episode on music.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were going to say something?
No, I was going to say, so we go back to the idea that there was a point, and I think we all were there at some point, where we get rid of the TV.
Right.
That was the idea. Do you remember what the TV was called in the early days?
The one-eyed devil?
The one-eyed devil, the one-eyed monster?
The
Yeah.
one-eyed
I mean,
monster.
it's what you were allowing in. It's there all the time.
Yeah.
Well, there was a quote that we were reading where someone was saying, you go to the TV and you bring people into your house to perform something that you would never invite normally in real
Right.
life.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
I'm
point.
like, sometimes that's true.
Well, there was a point I got convicted because as a kid, we used to go to the movies all the time. I mean, some of the movies I think back, I'm like, whoa.
I know, right? What was
What
my
were you
parents thinking?
Yeah, it's just bad. But a couple of years ago, I came to the conviction that why am I paying to go see something to support people who espouse ideas opposite of what
Totally
I
opposed.
believe? Yeah,
Right.
they're totally opposed to what I believe, but yet I'm going
To be entertained.
to be entertained by them and support them.
That's true. That is true. And speaking of which, why don't you go ahead, babe, and read Psalm 101:3. I know everyone's waiting for this one, right?
I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me.
And so what you have, oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see.
Yeah.
If you read that whole section there, I think it's that whole section, or maybe it was the Proverbs one, I'm not sure. And it goes into depth a little bit more, and it is a powerful thing here that I will not set my eyes. I won't even, go to this area. I won't look. I don't take pleasure in the ways of the wicked. I want the things of righteousness. And I know people are like, well, you're just a prude. Well, I would rather be a prude and be on God's side than to assimilate into the culture and just join into whatever's going on. And it's actually like what you said, Larry, it's going against what I believe.
Right.
And that's the problem I would have with a lot of shows. It doesn't actually encourage what I believe. It's going against. And there's one thing to have a show where it goes against it to prove a point, and actually the message is still good.
Right.
You need an antagonistic figure, I guess. But it's a whole other thing to promote it.
Right.
And to accept it as this is my heroes now.
Yeah.
These are the things I want to look up to. And so why don't you go ahead and...
Well, real quick
go ahead.
before that, the other interesting thing is that when it talks about the eyes, what did we say about the eye? The eye is the window,
to the
soul.
To the soul.
Right. So be
So,
careful, little
yeah, be
eyes,
careful
what you see.
That's
That's
right.
right. It is so true. I mean, it's a silly song, right? Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. But it's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. It's very important. Psalms 4:23, the one that Larry
That's
pulled out. We'll go ahead and.
Proverbs.
What
I
did
should have
say?
read ahead of time.
Psalm? Did I say Psalm?
You
Proverbs.
said Psalm. Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
And keep is to guard, and
Yeah.
to guard your heart, to watch, to be that watchman. And fathers, if you're out there, that is our job, is to be at the gate. We don't like these influences that are coming into our house, so we have to pay attention. We'll give some suggestions later on, but there are means out there, especially today, that we can look up and know if it's
Yes.
going to be good, if it's going to be bad, and so pay attention. Don't just bury your head and be like, just watch whatever you want. We don't care. It's just for entertainment. There is a message,
Yes.
so we got to be very
Yeah.
careful.
So the next danger we're going to talk about is the people who go along with the world standards.
Yes, so we have G, PG, PG-13, R. TV 14, TV mature M, MA. They have TV G even. These are all standards, right?
I have no idea.
They even have video game ratings. And I actually do appreciate these ratings on some level because like when you go to YouTube, you don't know what you're getting.
Correct.
No.
And so these ratings at least give you an idea.
Yeah, and they've actually gotten better not only of rating it at that, but giving you the reason, some of the content why. So that is helpful.
It is. But so what we're saying here is when people go along with the world standards, they shut off their brain and they just say, well, it's PG. So therefore, it's got to be good.
Right.
How many PG movies are bad? But once again, what's the message that's being shoved down our throats? Is a homosexual couple? Nowadays with Disney, you got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the message behind this that would push us to not like it? We have to be on our toes because this is where we just kind of shut off our minds, right?
Just coast our
what
way
does
through.
God say? That's what we want. So Philippians 4:8
says, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things."
This is a great verse because it comes down to the heart, right?
Right.
This was like one of Rebecca's favorite verses, and it is. You can almost apply this to almost every situation.
Yeah.
And when it comes to media, it's really good to think about. Kind of like the "What would Jesus do?" type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jesus would do all the time, but this is a pretty good indication that hey, is it true? Is it honest? Is it just? Is it pure? These are serious things. This is a good standard right here. So these are we going with the world standards? Or are we going with God's standards? The world doesn't really care, honestly. They care just a little bit. Like, okay, kids 13 shouldn't be watching these, or 12.
I'd say one of the things, like if you were going to make a movie about, say, the life of David, and you're going to follow the scriptures, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
As far as making it completely family friendly, if you're because you read it. But I think some things, in some ways, those things are there to let us know, okay, you need to be aware of what's going to be coming up.
Right.
Because some historical figures, or even like we were talking about the movie The Passion of the Christ. It was a good depiction of what the crucifixion actually looked like. It was hard to watch, to be honest. But to try to paint a good picture of what that looked like, it had. I can't remember what the rating of that movie was.
It was R.
Because
they wanted to be realistic.
They wanted to be realistic.
If you're going to get Mel Gibson, you're going to get realistic.
That's
no matter what it is.
So, in some regards, those warnings are there. But I understand your point about we need to
do our own.
Right, we need to do our own due diligence and have discernment on
Sure.
and especially age appropriate. Like The Passion of the Christ, you probably wouldn't want your 5-year-old to watch that.
No, exactly. That's when I was younger. I didn't understand that, and I'm like, well, if it's not good enough for a 3-year-old or an 8-year-old, it's not good enough for an adult. And I'm like, well, there are certain matters that aren't really for them quite yet.
Right.
So you have here, babe, self-control, temperance is the fruit. You got something, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So this is one of these things that I think about, and I don't have an answer to. So I throw it out. Y'all can kind of discuss
question time.
Well, you look at Philippians 4:8, and it tells you, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good. Think on these things. So there are entertaining shows that I don't see as having a negative influence, and they don't have necessarily bad things in it, but they don't necessarily have things like this where they're encouraging a virtue. They're encouraging things of good report.
Sure.
So where does the line fall in there?
That's a good question. We're gonna answer that later.
You jumped ahead as well.
Okay. Yeah.
At least I'm not the only one.
That is a good question, and maybe we can tackle.
Yeah, there's some things that we'll watch, and it's just for entertainment purposes.
Like Andy Griffith or something like that.
Well,
maybe not that.
Andy Griffith. My wife is honest on that. Andy lies all the time.
Yeah. You know the thing
about the show
about the Andy Griffith show Have you ever realized?
Oh yes, there's no married people on
The
there.
only
Oh,
married
that's right.
person on there is Otis, the town drunk.
Yes, it is.
Wow. See what marriage drives you
Yeah.
to?
See, it's very subtle. We didn't even catch it.
That's right.
Happy people are miserable. I mean, married people are miserable. And but anyway, that is a good question because like you say, it says what some things are true, honest. That's something you're going to have to. Is there a time for frivolity? I think there's times where you could just go out and play sports, have fun.
Yeah.
Is that any of these things? Do we, I don't know. There is a time where we can just, as long as it's not bad, it's just, fun. I don't know. That's where we have to have freedom there, and each family has to decide. I know.
And I think you do have to realize that the aspect of time still comes into there.
Yes.
Right.
Because you don't want to spend all your time or too much time on the frivolous things or just the entertainment.
Absolutely. Even if it's good.
Even if it's good.
I mean, you can spend 12 hours. I'm only watching Christian movies. Well, you're wasting your life, man. Especially Christian movies. Anyway.
Yeah, if you're going to watch that many Christian movies, you're really wasting some time because they're not very good if you watch that many.
Man, that many. No offense to PureFlix, but we have a subscription and there's some tough ones on there. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah, self-control, temperance is a gift of the fruit of the Spirit.
It is a fruit of the Spirit. And so I think when we talk about media and you talk about time and wasting so much time, we do need to have self-control as far as the time and to say, no, this isn't good for me, so I'm not going to watch.
And that's where we
this
need to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Is, like I said earlier, I think we've all made mistakes when it comes to media, and I think you have too out there listening, and you're like, man, maybe we shouldn't have watched that, or maybe I spent too much time, or... we've all made those mistakes, and we're learning from those things. But that's where self-control comes in. Realize I'm not going to do that again. Yep. And Proverbs 25:28. What does that say?
It says, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls."
Yeah.
I know we live in cities that don't have walls, but back then that was their protection, and we don't want to be that. We want to. Rule over our own spirit. If we can't control that, we're going to open ourselves up to everything.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to be careful.
Funny story about that. One point we had, I think it was Hulu. We subscribed because we wanted to watch.
I never heard of Hulu. What's that?
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
So say, how'd that happen? Anyway, we were going to watch one of the Mythbusters, I think it was, and so we actually watched a whole season in one night.
Oh, wow.
So
that's dedication, man.
I know.
Wow.
And then there was a couple other shows, and then it just sort of snowballed, kind of getting down. I'm like, you know what? We got to stop this. So I canceled it. And I've done that 3 times.
Right.
Because
you canceled 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we get it and cancel. Because self-control, for me, watching something, I have a hard time having self-control.
You can binge, huh?
Yeah, I can binge.
You can really binge.
Well,
Yeah.
And Pam doesn't help either.
Wow.
I hope she doesn't edit that out so I don't get in trouble.
She just got tired. Anyway, so the
last reason danger that we were going to look at was people follow others rather than standing on their own convictions.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to put this one in here is the first one was people accept it too early and people go along with the world standards, and this one they follow others rather than standing on their own convictions. So we did this at times. I think we've all done this also.
Yeah.
And we want to do this real quickly because I know we're running out of time. But we got to do our own due diligence. There was a time where just because a certain figure said, this is what we watch, and we're like, well, if he's watching it, then it must be good.
It must be good, yeah.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing. There are things that we watch that maybe you reject. There might be something that you watch. There's probably something that Larry watches that I reject. A lot. But we have to do our own due diligence. We've all fell for it. I mean, I remember we like period pieces, and church members, not these people, this was years ago, and they said, man, you should watch Downton Abbey. And I'm like, yeah, Downton Abbey is, we've heard about it.
Downtown Abbey?
The what? Downtown Abbey? Yeah, I'm like...
I got to get my country voice in there for you.
But Downton Abbey looked like it was okay. The first season, first episode we watched, and there were 2 guys making out, kissing. And I thought, what in the world? Does not anybody have any discernment?
Yeah.
And we had to make a choice. Are we going to keep watching?
Yeah.
Honestly, if we were like season 6, the last episode, we might have kept going, but get through. But this was the first. I'm like, no, if this is how it's going to be to start out, we're not going to do it. So be very, very careful on what other people do. We want suggestions. We want to know what other people are doing. There's no doubt about it.
I could have told you on that one just from the title that it was going to be a no. But
What, Downton Abbey?
yeah, just because what it was.
Well,
It's like Pride and Prejudice. It's a no.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Well, you don't have a house full of girls.
You don't have Sense and Sensibility.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. Now, what we're going to do, Abigail has a game for us, and when we get back from the game, we are going to finish off the last point and give some helps and some specific things about some of the specific medias and give some helps of how what has worked, what hasn't worked in our lives. But we'll be back right after this.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back, and it is time for our little game time, and it's with Abigail. All right, so we have another game. Abigail has joined us on the right here.
Yep.
She can scoot over a little bit because she's not in the shot. There we go. I have no idea what this is. I guess this is a game where we're trying to see how well we know each other. Why don't you tell us?
Yep, that's pretty much what it is, since it's the first time you guys are all here together
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
studio. So we're just going to have a couple questions for each of you, and so I'll ask a question,
So
and
we
you'll
have a question for Larry. We
I do.
have a question for me.
I see where this is going.
And Chuck is.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh, Chuck's not going to lose this one.
Hopefully not.
No, we need to find one for Chuck. Okay, so what is this? Explain the game, the rules.
All right,
the
so
rules.
kind of. I've just got a couple questions, and I'm going to take turns asking you, and you'll kind of see it as I ask the question, but it'll be a question you'll have to see who it applies to.
Okay, well, we'll figure this out how it goes. Let's go. Let's get this on the road. Here we go.
So since you're to my left, how about we start with you?
We'll start with me.
All right.
So, who of Mr. Larry and Mr. Chuck
It's 50-50.
has been married the longest?
Well, that is easy.
So who's it?
I'm going to guess, let's see, Larry.
Nope.
Nope.
What? Are you serious?
They got married a few months before us.
Was it a few months?
Yeah, we were in December.
Okay, so you're 30?
Yeah,
yeah, we're 31.
Yeah, well,
okay.
we'll be on our 31st.
Whatever. It doesn't look like I'm going to win this one.
You only had a 3-month period there. That's pretty rough.
I did think it was easy, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Next.
All right, Mr. Larry, you're up next.
Okay.
So, who of Mr. Chuck and my dad was born at a military hospital?
Ooh.
There you go.
Your dad.
Oh,
Yep.
that's right. I was. Yep. We don't have a cheer one, so we do. But it's a long one.
All right, Mr. Chuck, whose favorite ice cream is chocolate with stuff in it?
Chocolate with stuff. So they both favorite ice cream is chocolate. That's what I'm observing from that. That would with stuff in it would have to be Larry. He's the with stuff guy.
Yep.
That's right, because you know me. Yeah, no, don't give me that.
There is no way.
Just chocolate.
And I agree.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so we're going to go back to Dad.
Now we'll go back to me.
So, who met their spouse first, Mr. Larry or Mr. Chuck?
I would think this one's easy again, but I'm going to say Chuck.
Yes.
Yep.
That was a tough one. I wouldn't know that one.
You wouldn't know that
He
one?
knew her since
High
like
school.
17. So,
okay.
16, 17.
All right, Mr. Larry, who has been at their job the longest?
Ooh,
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Come on, I want to know what you think.
I'll go with Chuck.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Okay.
how long have you been at your job?
I just had this yesterday, so it's 23 years.
Okay, yeah, I guess I've been at mine 22. So when Rebecca was born, basically. So 22 and a half years. So yep, got that one right.
You've been at yours? Not with Evan?
Yeah.
I thought it was less than that.
No, that's basically what I've been doing my whole life
You've
here.
been there how long?
23.
Oh, okay.
We're
and
pretty
a half.
stable.
Yeah, you are.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Me
Mr.
and
Chuck.
Chuck are very steady.
Thought I was. I guess not.
All right, your question, Mr. Chuck. Who has lived in Texas?
Ooh, that's a good
Who
question.
has lived in Texas? I'm going to have to go Larry.
No.
I was born in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Yeah, at a military base.
At a military hospital.
Actually, I found out it wasn't the military hospital, but it was in Killeen. But I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I got that one wrong. Yep. Learned something new.
No, he got it wrong.
I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Did I say you get it wrong?
No.
No, you said you got it wrong.
You said
You got it wrong. I said you. Anyway, someone got it wrong.
You said I.
Okay, I got it. I'm right. Okay, anyway, whose turn is it?
And for your final question,
final.
this is the
Final
final
answer.
question for everybody. Who doesn't like yogurt?
Oh. I think that's Larry, but yeah, I'm going to go with Larry.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Chuck makes yogurt, but of course he makes pickles and he doesn't like them.
I like pickles.
Your family doesn't, though. Like
Yeah, my
sweet pickles.
They like pickles.
Okay, but you got to make a whole bunch of them and you don't like them.
No, I don't like cucumbers.
yeah, he doesn't like that.
All right, so what do we got here, Larry?
All right. Mr. Larry, your last question.
Pressure.
Who has the most siblings?
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna go with Chuck
Nope.
because you only have one.
No.
No, you have two.
I got, well, it depends, but I have 3 sisters.
I have one brother.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yep.
Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right?
No, it's not. No.
All right.
Okay.
Mr.
Chuck.
Chuck, your last question. Whose first car was a Honda Accord?
That would have to be Mike.
That is right.
Yes. Chuck, Larry wouldn't be caught dead in a Honda Accord.
Well, I
right?
had a Toyota Corolla.
Oh, a Toyota Corolla.
Okay.
Actually,
All right.
it really wasn't totally my car. I didn't have my own car till I got married. So
Wow.
that
How
was
about
a
that?
Toyota Corolla. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that it?
That's it.
Sweet.
All right.
Were we keeping score or anything? Because I probably lost that one.
Actually, everybody got 2 right and 1 wrong.
So we all tied.
That is
Oh, that's fine.
I am your father.
so
All
we know each other the same then.
That we do. We didn't have a tiebreaker this time, and that's fine. So when we get back, we're going to, through the magic of YouTube and all that, we're going to have an email, and I think Larry wants to do something special. So
Yes.
we'll
Yep.
be right back now. Okay, now Larry wants to do...
Hi, I'm still Larry.
He's still Larry, and he's over there. He wants to do something special, I guess.
Right. Well, because
Explain.
a couple things. First, you said on the wall back here you didn't have anything from Florida,
Oh.
and since we're from Florida and we moved here, I figured we should bring something from Florida
Gators?
to. Well, you already have gators here.
Yes, we do.
I have gators.
So, give me.
He's talking off mic. What he said is he bought something like $10,000. Okay.
Well, actually, you got two. You got yours.
This is mine. Oh,
That's
all right.
one.
You got a his and hers?
No, actually, I got one for you.
Wow, if you're
Chuck.
watching on YouTube.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Man.
So are these both mine?
Yeah, they're
I
both
get
yours.
2?
Yeah, you both
Sweet.
get 2.
Oh, you get 2.
Oh,
Sorry,
wow.
Sarah.
No,
I
it's all
didn't-
good. We're one. So
Okay.
it's all good.
Yeah.
So
So,
should
you
we-
go first, Mike.
We'll go. Let me get it on the air here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
What is this? Oh, I'm reaching in and I got paper.
Paper
Wow.
on the mic.
Yes. And we got a. Oh wow, this is terrible. This is
Oh, man.
unbelievable.
That was rough.
This is tough. Tough. I cannot put this on the show. So the little backstory.
You got to tell them what it says.
It says Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup Final, Stanley Cup champs, whatever.
2022.
Yeah, they've won 2 in a row. So I grew up a hockey fan, and my dad played hockey, and I'm a hockey fan, and we'll watch the Bruins. I'm a Bruins fan.
Yeah.
Well, I gave them a hard time. They don't know anything about hockey,
No.
and their daughter was starting to get into it because my kids were into it a little bit. And speaking of media, and but they were like, "Why should we be Bruins fans? We live here near Tampa." And just so happens that Tampa happened to win Stanley Cup, so they like to rub it in. And that's great. Thank you very much. What a classy gift. Some root beer. I am a big root beer fan, and this is a brand I've never seen.
I haven't tried that one, so I don't know.
Bundaberg root beer, Australia.
Yeah, it's an Aussie.
So right there, if you can see.
I think, Sarah, your brother said that was one of his favorites.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering if it was on his document that he has.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he actually, you talked to him?
This was several months ago.
Sweet.
But yeah. All right. Chuck.
So my turn.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what is now after seeing your cup.
Oh man,
I know you like coffee too. So
I do like coffee.
This one you might use.
All right, because Mike's not drinking out of that one.
Oh my goodness, my kids will be so offended.
I told you.
I know you like college sports, so I figured.
There we
Notice
go.
what? Yeah, Chuck's wearing an LSU shirt. This is that's great. We gotta get
something
Larry back.
for Florida.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then it's
then the
you got
real
the root
thing.
beer too.
root beer.
Recently, we haven't either one of us done very well. So, all right. So I got a root beer too.
Yeah, you're a root beer guy.
Yeah, I like root beer. Yes,
You like
but I
ginger beer,
actually, ginger beer.
I
is
found that out after I got.
But that's
out.
quite all right. I actually tried this. This
brand?
one's ginger beer when I was in California.
Oh, nice.
So I had just tried that one, but no, I like.
Well, thank you, Larry. This is like it's like
Yeah.
Christmas, man, in July or it's August. But
August.
yeah, so thank you very much. We don't have anything for you.
I know, and I just thought it'd be fun to
that was fun.
rub it in a little bit.
Okay, so with your magic of editing, we'll be right back with the email. All right, we are back, and we have an email. And actually, I don't know if you want to read this, Chuck.
No, you go right ahead. I'm going to see if you read the whole thing or not.
The whole thing. Okay, you know what this is?
It got read to me at one point. Yes.
Okay, well, should we not read the whole thing?
No, go ahead.
Okay. This is actually an email from his wife. So that's why she emailed me the show. Not emailed me, but the show. Why don't you go? It's a little bit small print. Why don't you go ahead and read that?
Okay. So
And it's Jeannie's voice, kind of. So just imagine her voice.
This was talking about singing, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So she said, so I'm listening to the show on 10 reasons to sing to the Lord.
I'm singing. Oh.
First, Chuck sings in the shower. I can hear him. You don't have to share that.
Well, Chuck
Too late,
sings in
huh?
the shower, so yes.
Well, who doesn't?
Okay.
So that's
I'm
Chucky's.
singing.
Yeah,
I'm in a store and I'm singing. I'm in a store and I'm singing. There's no singing in the North Pole. Yes, there is.
So Chuck sings in the shower.
Okay. Second, we do sing in the kitchen, usually when we are working, while Chuck is at work, hence why he thinks we don't sing much. If we aren't singing by ourselves, then something is playing on Spotify. We also sing in the van a lot or listen and sing along. We sing in the garden too, anywhere really. It is a great focus setter, mood changer.
It is. Thank you. Yeah. She wanted to set Chuck straight there. Like, we sing. What are you talking? I guess you must have mentioned that you don't really sing too
Well,
much.
I said that on the air. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually did.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
that's
I
right.
was thinking about it. The evenings we don't sing a whole lot. I remember times in the past when we actually would take time to do music together and do some of those
Sure.
things, and I don't do that as much anymore. So,
But they're still singing throughout the day.
But I guess that is cool. We're going to be singing soon, right?
That's right. They're singing right now. Okay.
And then lastly, I laughed at what you said, Mike, about meditating by singing the same phrase over and over. I looked at my daughter and said, I do that, but only because I can't remember the rest of the song. Then you said the same thing. Very funny, but probably true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, and the what does it say?
Book CD.
Oh, the book CD Chuck mentioned about Psalm 119 can be found at, and then she has the website, shepherdmusic.com. So we'll have that link there. And it says, thanks again for another great show. Not sure if I'll ever have time to email again, so enjoy. Jeannie Tate, blessed wife of Chuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
She sent that from her phone because Chuck wanted me to read it all the way to the end. And, so yeah, thanks, Jeannie. You missed out on the last show. She thought she got it in on time, but she didn't realize we were recording earlier last episode. So thank you. We got another message to Sarah, a friend of hers, but because it wasn't an email, we can't read it on the air. But she did.
Somebody else
appreciate-
enjoyed the singing episode.
Yeah, the singing episode because they like to sing a lot in their house. So I'm glad. Appreciate the emails. If you want to email the show, it's talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. That's talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org, and we'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the Mike Charleston Show.
And we are back, and we are back, and we're going to finish off our discussion of dangers of the media, and we got our first 2 points, and our last point here is some specific dangers and helps that we have found. So things that we have found that helped us throughout the years, and some more specifics through some of these. So we're going to go right through these pretty quickly, hopefully, as we're running out of time too. So we're going to be talking about movies, internet, social media, stuff like that, and then we're going to be breaking them down. So first we have movies. So Chuck, why don't we go ahead and start with you? Okay. Movies. What do we have here?
So many people put their guard down for entertainment value can be put on hold.
We kind of talked about that already.
Yeah, we did. We discussed that.
We don't even really pay attention because it's entertainment.
Right.
So what else does it do there, Larry?
Desensitizes us.
Desensitizes. What? Describe desensitize.
You just get
numb.
Numb, yeah. You just get numb. You just get used to something.
Right. You know they're shocked by something.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about watching a show where they promote homosexuality. Well, what we see on TV now would be very shocking if you could take that back in time.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we just got desensitized.
So the changing of the norm.
Yep.
Right.
And if you take in a little bit, then the norm begins to change and shift for you. So you become desensitized to it.
So that's kind of the dangers. Now, here's some of the helps that we have had throughout the years. Now, we have, and this is anywhere on the internet. We'll put up some links and stuff in the description below here. So go ahead and look. But you could just search on the internet. But there's Dove. There is the IMDb Parents Guide. The Plugged In, which is focused on the families, Plugged In, the Christian Spotlight. Now, all those 4 things are, you can actually go and type in the movie. Now, they don't have all movies, but, pretty popular ones. Mm-hmm. And they don't have everything. But for the most part, you can go and look. Well, IMDb might. And they'll tell you all the content that's in there. Sexual content, cursing, if it takes the Lord's name in vain, if it...
Violence, nudity.
Right, and even some of them will be like some of the themes, so it might be clean, but is it Harry Potter, or something like that.
I had one I like this, Common Sense Media.
Yep.
They used to do everything, now they just give you 3. After you do 3 they kind of time you out at that point.
They want you to subscribe.
They want you to subscribe. Okay. So that's when you have to clear the cache and start over.
That's right.
Which is really nice. Sometimes people say they were watching a movie with their kids and they didn't realize what was in it until they're sitting in the living room watching it. And it's like, well, that's not how you can check it out first.
Right.
And make sure
and actually, part of it is the filters. So another filter, ClearPlay, VidAngel. In the past, we've had both of these. We have ClearPlay right now. And it will actually, when you go to, if you want the movie, it'll have a bar down here, and you can take out anything that you want. Now, it doesn't take it out all the time. It'll bleep it out. If it's a word, you'll mute it. And it can cut out a scene if you don't want a certain scene in there, if you don't want to see it or whatever. And it'll basically paint out, it'll show you what's on the whole movie. You know what it is. So there's really no excuse to be like, well, I didn't know this was in there.
Just a quick warning, though, with the filters. Just remember, if you watch a movie through the filters, if you recommend that same movie, you got to get that disclaimer that you watched it through the filters.
Right.
Yeah, we had to do that.
You could get yourself in trouble.
We did that with a kid. One of the kids, we watched Home Alone. So just you know, but we did that with the filter. We wanted to see what it looked like, and it was a fairly clean movie without it, but there was still some issues. And we did the filter with crude language. We had to change that because it was like, okay, they said stupid, but that's the whole movie, so it's going to seem like it's really bad. But one of our kids were like, oh, that's my favorite movie. I'm like, don't say that. Don't tell people that, because we watched it filtered. So just be careful of that. So moving on. So what do we have next, babe?
Next, we have the internet.
The internet. Now, I think this is the biggest one. I did think movies was the biggest danger, or had the biggest influence, but honestly, movies do have a big influence. But internet is so pervasive. It is out there.
Well, people spend more time probably on the internet than watching a movie.
Right.
Yes, indeed. Nowadays, absolutely.
Well, with the invention of smartphones, it just makes it's all right there.
Right there in your hand.
You can take it pretty much anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So under internet, what do you have there?
We have obviously the endless filth. We've got, pornography, violence. There's
just one click. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's everything the worst that the devil can bring, it's all there.
What else do we have, Chuck?
Every philosophy of the world is pushed.
Yeah, fake, false, true, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all out there. You know, that's right. Larry, what else do we have?
Well, you can do filters to keep those.
That's
things.
not a danger.
Yeah,
So-
it's not a danger, but
So here's the thing that has helped us, and I don't know if you guys have you done this before?
no,
Okay, you haven't had a filter?
no. What we do, I mean, everything's open. Like my
Right.
kids
Yeah.
play on my phone, so everything's there.
Right.
It's-
The filters, so what I like about filters aren't the complete answer, as we'll
Right.
figure out here in just a second. But it does help, especially when they're younger. It does help if they
Yeah.
accidentally search something that they don't know what they're searching, or it helps things from just coming up. And honestly, it helped me. You know, I don't want that temptation. It just, if I had a weak moment, you know, it blocks that weak moment.
I will say I do have a filter on my search engine for the.
Well, your
Safe search.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the explicit materials.
Yep.
Right.
Prohibited, things like that. So I guess that is a filter.
Yeah, we
in a
have
way.
one on our well, I don't know what you call it,
It's
router.
a router.
on the
Yeah, there's
Right.
that's getting a little too technical, but
Right.
you can. There's a free one, and I can't remember what the name of it is, where you can actually everything is routed through the site, and whenever you're doing anything, and they take care of blocking. It's used a lot by schools.
Yeah. Well, K9 we used to use. They don't really do it anymore. I know that Covenant Eyes was another one.
was.
I think they're still doing it. There's number of filters. You just go
Right.
on and look at internet filters. We use one that it's a DNS, but it doesn't matter. It's it goes on the router. That's a little too inside. But the other thing is keep all computers and devices in the public. That's
Yeah.
what you were
Yeah.
referring
Right.
to.
Yeah.
We have no one brings their phones and computers and just go sit alone inside their room.
Yeah.
No.
It's always out in the open, and you know most of the time, you know, even our 20-year-olds still walk around. They're on their laptops. They're not necessarily. We don't see what's on the screen, but they're in public, so we
Right.
can walk by, and there's nothing to hide. So that helps too.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last one is a big one.
Yeah, well, we read recently somebody said the best internet filter is fear of the Lord.
Yeah.
Fear of the Lord. And that's honestly, look, when we're training our kids, that's what we're instilling, right? The
Right.
fear of God. And that's what motivates me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's what motivates us to keep ourselves on the right track. And that's the thing we need to get our kids. The only difference is our kids aren't as mature and maybe not in the faith as long. And
Right.
so we do want to put some things to be aware that the internet is not a safe place. There are so many things out there to choose from that are attacking you.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of that. Okay, speaking of the internet,
Social media.
social
That's the next
media.
area.
If you don't know what social media is, oh man,
for you.
Yeah,
Good for you, yeah.
but we're talking like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all these other things out
I
there.
couldn't tell you what the other-
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace.
So social media is like people want to be connected, but that leads to shallow relationships
Yeah.
and poor communication skills in person. And this is what we were talking about, Larry. You jumped ahead a little bit, but yeah, they want to be connected, and it is an easy way to connect.
Right.
I mean, I've connected with a sister I didn't even know I had. Well, I knew I had, but she was a half sister, and we connected on Facebook, and that's kind of neat to be able to do that.
Yeah.
With old friends, and we post things, and it's all just a big ego trip, really.
Yeah,
But the other thing is, it leads to what?
Shallow.
No, fake
relationships.
lives.
Yeah,
Oh,
fake-
okay.
and
Fake
Fake
lives.
lives.
Yeah.
Why is that big fake lives? Because it's not reality. You take
Right.
a snapshot of something that we're doing, post it on Facebook. We're all smiling. We're all happy.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, you're divorced. So I'm like, well, what happened? I thought he was the greatest
Right.
husband in the world, which leads to the point that you were saying earlier. So this one right here.
Oh yeah, it's you look at that. A good example. Pam saw this part of the homeschool group we were part of. The family posted these pictures on Facebook. They were on vacation, and the picture, it was the whole family together. Everybody smiling. Looks like they had a great time. And you think, man, I wish I could do a vacation like that. But Pam asked the mom. She's like, oh, I saw your picture. It looked like you had fun. She goes, oh, let me tell you, that was the worst day ever. She said, I had to threaten all the kids almost with their lives to behave and to get that picture. But if you didn't know that, just seeing it, you're like, oh man,
Right.
look at this
Look like
family.
they had fun.
Yeah, they have fun. They're on this vacation. Why can't my life be like that?
And so it does lead to depression because
Yeah. Right.
your life is boring.
Yeah,
So
right.
you skipped over one thing I want to go back and hit.
Okay,
That was
go
that it leads to poor communication skills.
Oh, okay, sure.
That's an interesting thing today because people who the jargon that's used and the shorthand that's used and a lot of social media and the communications really dumbs down society.
It does.
Yeah.
They're not communicating very well. And there's a lot of people that even we know, young people, that all they know how to do is communicate with a typewriter. Can't believe I said
Typewriter, wow.
keyboard, and they don't
You're
really
speaking my language.
That's right. They don't know how really to communicate in person, and that is going to be a problem here in the future.
But that is actually a problem. There are studies where, especially since COVID, with the lockdown, and people have gotten so used to just social media and that interpersonal relationships, they're losing that ability. Like younger people they're not interested anymore as much as getting married because they don't know how to handle that close relationship.
Yeah.
And because of social media.
So there is obviously a problem. We didn't have any helps on
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I don't see any helps on this one.
I would say a good help is just one, we talked about all the dangers of this, but it is such a powerful tool that we can use. Like Rebecca making that film, it was a great film.
Right.
And it had a good message. It stirred your emotions, so it is powerful. And I think as Christians, it's something we can use and not be afraid of.
Right, and we can use those to get information out.
Right.
You know, the social media is an avenue. It is.
Well, and I think with the social media, as far as like as a parent, I think that it's good to be very cautious before you let your kids get on different
Yeah, we
things.
haven't let anybody under 18, maybe 17, get on. Now they can. You know, we're not going down that road that early, and it's just once you get on, it's a cesspool.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to pull back. So
It is.
you'd rather give a little where you feel safe and you feel like this is good for
Right.
them, and then you don't have to pull back. So.
Right.
So I guess if I were to put one thing out there as far as, and it's not really a help in terms of a technical type thing, but it's the time management. Going back to how much time you spend on, because I think it's very easy to not realize how much time you're spending, and how much time you're wasting on social media. There again, I'm an IT guy, and I really don't like social media. I don't. I'll get on Facebook 3 or 4 times a week and just kind of scroll and see what's going on.
Talking to other men, it seems like, now I don't put it on my phone. I don't have it on my phone, so it's not with me all the time. I don't get alerts. And it seems like people who put it on their phone have a more difficult time. Because the only time I can get on it is if I actually sit down at the computer and I want to go there.
That's a good point.
Now, I might stay on there a little long, but it's like I'm purposeful. I want to get on. I want to post something, or I want to check out what's going on. But I don't have it on my phone. So if you're struggling with that, maybe just take it off your phone. And if you don't have a computer, then you don't on. But maybe you have to be disciplined, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of discipline, we'll move on to the next one, which is, we didn't really talk about this one too much in the media thing, but video games. And we wanted to put this thing on here because it is my generation grew up. I'm a little younger than you guys. And we were a video game generation. I grew up with video games. It's very normal. A lot of my friends
Atari?
my age.
Atari,
Well, I did have an Atari. I had I had a ColecoVision. I had the original Sega Master System.
Wow.
And then we had computer games. And so I grew up with video games. And so I can really speak to these, but they are definitely designed to be addictive.
Yes.
Yeah.
They design them that way to sit there and play them over. How many of us play? You guys probably didn't play Mario Brothers, right?
Very little.
Yeah,
A little bit of Mario Brothers.
Right, because that was that's probably
I was more of
closer
a
to my generation.
Frogger.
Oh, Frogger, yes. Go to the arcade and get to Galaga. But
well, that was another thing. I mean, when I was a kid, you had to go to a place.
The arcade.
And
you have fun, and then you go home.
And then you go,
But now they brought it to your house.
Right.
I have the arcade.
And not only that, the games, also a lot of them are online.
Yes.
So you got another, I guess, a form of social media.
It is. And that's one thing, if people don't realize that, some parents may not realize that these games, they're online and there are communications. So, if they got the headphones on, they got the bike, they're able to communicate verbally, they're able to communicate through chat, they're building teams together to do whatever they're doing.
So you could have an 8-year-old talking to a 64-year-old man. So just think about that. You got to be very aware. There's definitely chats. There you can talk. It's changed. It's not just like sitting in your own playing Nintendo anymore.
Right, no. Yeah.
There is an aspect of
Your
social
little
media.
Atari.
That is for sure. And some of them are filled with violence, cursing, immorality.
Oh, yeah.
Those are. I've never been interested in the. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was one shoot 'em up game I played, but that was it was a military game. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Growing up, but most of them I didn't. I played sport games or something like that. But there are games that are full of violence, cursing, immorality.
Yeah.
So be very, very careful. They usually have a rating system on there for a reason, and be aware of it. But honestly, I'm not necessarily saying you can't let your kids play video games, but we have actually a video game system. We have a Wii that's old. I don't know if people still have Wiis. And every once in a while, either a birthday or New Year's or a holiday, we'll pull it out and we'll play Mario Kart. Now, the things with those games are 4 people can play at once. We play together, and we kind of encourage those type of games that we can do these things together. It's fun. It's a fun activity, and then we go put it away. It's not just sitting out all day long, and the way we play every single day. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but you have to control it, or else your kids will want to play it all the time.
Yep, because that's how they're designed.
Well, the funny thing is, I guess in our house, the boys got Xbox.
Okay.
Well, I guess the first one, I don't. But they'd have their friends come over and play. So they'd have 4 or 5 friends, but it was all in the living room of our house.
Right.
And so they'd play and have sodas and snacks and stuff, and then they'd go home, and that was it. But and
Well, you think that? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say and the games they would have to buy them. So
There you go.
And they were expensive.
Yeah, they were expensive. So they really and now they're really not interested in the games because they just never got addicted to them that way. Because when they could have, they had to pay. They had to buy the system and they had to buy the games and then the controllers and stuff. So it worked, and I guess in a favor that they didn't get addicted to it because it cost them too much money.
Yeah. You were going to say, Chuck?
No, never mind.
Okay. You changed your mind?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No. Okay. And the next one, music. We haven't talked about music at all, but that is a big medium.
It is a very big one.
Medium.
Yes.
Medium.
You're on that one.
Yeah. So it's a big one, and we wanted to just save that for another episode altogether. So we'll save that. We'll get in depth in that later. I know Larry. We wanted to wait for Larry, and it turns out he's going to be gone the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Sorry.
So what's the point of that? So we'll have to. So we'll finish this off on a couple of verses, babe. Why don't we go ahead and do Colossians 3 and 2?
It says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth.
Yeah, set your affections on things above. Why? Because ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. That is where we are, so our affections should be. So when we're making our decisions, keep that in mind. Now, set our affections. Our affections shouldn't be for the video games, the music, and not that those are bad, but where does that lead us to Christ? Does that lead us to godliness and holiness and righteousness? And Hebrews 12, 1 through 2. You love this one.
I do. Favorite verse. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Absolutely. We forget that we're running a race here, and we're here for a purpose. And because we live in a land of affluence and we have a lot of spare time, we can get caught up in these things. And I'm not saying we can't. It's okay to every once in a while indulge in some form of entertainment at times. Well, but we have to be very, very, very careful.
Well, I like that it says the weights, because like a lot of these things aren't sin. It's not a sin to have social media or all these other forms of media, but it can be weights. I mean, if you think about a runner, you're going to set aside every weight that you can while you're running, because it just makes it harder.
That will. That will make it. So anyway, I know this was a little bit longer of an episode, but I thought it was that important that we talk about some of these dangers. And so, Chuck, why don't we recap?
All right. So we started off talking about media and what the purpose of that media was. We showed that we have it's used to inform people, to get a message out. It's used to sell its products. And the big one, I think, is to create culture. Yeah. And if you go back and look at the episode we did on creating a godly culture, and then finally to entertain.
Yes. And number 2, Larry.
Dangers of media. There's a lot we accept it too easily. That's one of the things that it's easy to do.
Yeah, we talked about that and following the world standards and following others you respect instead of doing your own due diligence. So during that whole thing is that there's dangers we have to be aware and to do our own due diligence. And thirdly,
and the last one was we talked about specific dangers and helps that we've used.
So hopefully those did help you. I know maybe some of the social media people, we might have to do a whole episode on social media because people have questions about these things. They're not sure, so when they're not sure, they just don't do anything. And that can be good or bad sometimes. Sometimes if you just cut everything out, it's easy, but it could be bad in the future. Or if you just let it happen, let it go, then that's really bad. So we have to be intentional. And we have to have a plan and know that there are dangers, but it can be used for good. And we as a family want to use it as good.
Right, yes.
Rebecca is writing books. She's doing movies. We're doing YouTube channels. We're on podcasts. So we believe in media. And I can't.
You'll get it.
You keep using that word.
Exactly. Where is it? Oh man.
Using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
But we believe in the technology to get a message out there. That is for sure. And we want to use it for good. So hopefully you've been encouraged by this. And guys, we won't see Larry next week.
No, sorry.
So he was a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening. See you later.
Hi, I'm Joshua Charleston, the producer for The Mike Charleston Show. If you enjoyed listening to the show, please help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a review, or just tell a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. We look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show. The Mike Charleston Show.